Hi, I'm Elisabeth Hancock, author of Work Your Energy, and my next book is called Human Origins, the Multiverse, and Our Star Ancestry. And today I'm going to be pulling out some of the things that I talk about in my second book, which is coming out very soon. So one of the areas which is of huge interest to people these days is the Cabal. Who are the Cabal? And what have they done to this planet? What have they done to humanity? These are things that are cropping up everywhere. And I just want to go through what my thoughts are around this. So who are the Cabal? They're also referred to as the deep state, military industrial complex, Illuminati, and the elites. The Cabal are the people who are currently running this world. Essentially, in my understanding, they have acquired this power by being on this earth for a very long time. Many of them stem from the Lurie family, who are also the Rothschilds, and they can trace their family lines back thousands of years ago, much longer than the indigenous people, and the indigenous people can trace their lines back also thousands of years as well. So if they have been on the planet for such a long time, then maybe they have been able to control it in the way that they see fit, in the way that they want it to be controlled. They also have set up many secret societies, and there are hundreds probably of secret societies in this world, but they've set up many secret societies between them, and they pass on knowledge to each other. And they share information between each other using symbols, sacred geometry, all sorts of different symbolisms that show each other that they are part of this secret group. They all know that they're all working together, but the rest of humanity are kept in the dark and kept in this matrix, if you like, of reality that we see around us today. So corporate life, money, banking, politics, all of this has been engineered and set up by these people, these elites, we can trace this back to Babylon. So modern day Cabal, if you like, began probably in the 1900s with the Rockefellers. The Rockefeller Foundation began to grow. They actually went from being convicted in the courts for racketing and corruption around 1913 into taking up a huge amount of control in our world. So they cover all aspects of it, education, politics as well. Many politicians can trace their lines back to Rockefellers or Rothschild families, or even any of these other 13 Illuminati families that are talked about so much in our world. However, when we're looking at the tales of Tartaria and also the old world building, which were said to have been built in the 1800s, but many of them were demolished 50 years, 100 years, less than 100 years later. And these buildings were incredible. When you start to research the sacred geometry, the harmony of these buildings, and the fact that these buildings were possibly even used to heal our bodies and to work with the human body, which is a pretty incredible temple, if you like, and allows us to experience this reality that we call life. So I also think that the Romans probably had quite a large part in this as well. So 3,000 years ago, when the Romans started taking over and dominating the world, they used Christianity as a means to hijack consciousness and start spreading fear. And what this does is it cuts us off from source energy, which is our natural state. We are fractals of source ourselves. We are energetic beings ourselves. And to a certain extent, being kept in this little category of being evolved apes, I think has been hugely debilitating to us as humanity ourselves. However, there has always been a darkness on this planet, and it's talked about in every single religion and ancient culture. They all have their own name for it. It preys upon people, humans, and can infiltrate the mind. And maybe this is what happened to the Romans, and then later on we can see it's happened to others, the Jesuits as well. Or maybe it was something else. Maybe something came into our world. So why did this happen? Why did this shift, if you like, start trying to shut us down disconnect us from source, make us believe that we are just biological beings that are born and die. We have no purpose. Life is just a series of random acts, and then we drop dead. Who does it benefit, and why was this created? Well, I think there are many reasons as to why this happened now, but I suspect that this shift in consciousness has been growing for at least 2,000 years. I think the Renaissance was another period. We started waking up again. Essentially, we're spiritual beings on a spiritual evolution, a spiritual journey, if you like. And we'll look at what spiritual actually means in a minute. But as people start to wake up and we get back to our true loving and compassionate nature, which is a fractal of source, we become uncontrollable. We become empowered. We are no longer able to be food source for people. We're no longer able to be people that pay taxes and work for others. We become creative spiritual beings ourselves. And this does not make good business for the small amount of people who are trying to control this world and control us. So let's look at what spiritual is. So let's define what spiritual is, because I think this is another word, just like psychic. They've been completely shut down, taken over, ridiculed, so that we don't get back to that spiritual essence that we are. In my opinion, spiritual has nothing to do with religion. Of course, religion is an orchestrated, man-made thing. I also would say that God has nothing to do with religion too, and that's also because God is spirituality, consciousness, if you like, and these are all energy sources. And as we understand more about quantum physics in our world, we can see that there's just new science coming out every single day. It's a very exciting time to be alive. We're starting to get scientific evidence and proof of things that we have always known to be true. So spirituality, as I said, it's an energy source. It makes up the entire universe. It's probably advanced physics, and it enables us to grow as an individual and a collective. So we would call this energy God, or even Christ consciousness. But essentially, everything in the universe is on this spiritual journey. And this spiritual journey is what we call life. The Cabal, have been trying to keep us trapped in these lower states of consciousness. Whether these are humans, these elites, or non-humans, we don't quite know. But they are certainly exhibiting a different type of energy to the rest of us, and don't seem to be made up of the same loving, compassionate, heart-led energy that most of us have. Spirituality is also driven by consciousness. And consciousness has a plan. We can see in our genetics and even in our DNA that it all shows intelligent design. This means that something has created this experience and also possibly even created us. When we look at all the genetic changes that have happened in the human body 200,000 years ago, we can see that there have been so many genetic changes that it's hard to put this down to organic, natural evolution. So if there are a few amount of people who know that this is happening, that we as a collective can be herded in a certain direction because of energy pendulums, energy fields. If you can harness these energy fields, you can herd humans in a certain direction. And I think that this is what has been happening at least the past 120 years, when the Rockefellers took over the control of the Western world. But I think it's been happening a lot longer than that. So the more we learn and the better we get at life and become more compassionate as an individual, the more we can progress onto the next spiritual realm. And this is what I feel raising our vibration means. It enables us to evolve, to raise our own frequency, so that we can move out of this lower frequency and move into a higher frequency ourselves. I believe that this is an orchestrated lower frequency, and it's what we call the matrix. I think it's been orchestrated by the elites or Cabal, but they cannot keep us stuck in these lower states of consciousness because they never had us in the first place. It's rather like the analogy of a prison with an open door. So we do not have to stay in these lower states of consciousness. consciousness, and we always have a choice. We can choose to move out of that, and we can do that living good lives by making the conscious decision to improve our life, to not stay stuck in fear, to use energies, emotions for our own benefit. The energy of gratitude, the energies of forgiveness, the energies of unconditional love. The more times that we can stay in these higher vibrational energies, the more time we can get ourselves out of these lower states of consciousness and into a higher state of consciousness, which is where the spiritual journey or the spiritual path is taking us. So in my opinion, we have all experienced multiple lifetimes before this one on many different planets and universes, and then we came to Earth for whatever reason that may be. We're fractals of source energy. We are all the same. We are all part of the same cosmic field, and it's only we haven't been told that, and to a certain extent anything that is leading us towards that feeling, that understanding, has been ridiculed to stop us from going down that path. So I think that we all came here for a reason, but not all of us have to know what that reason is. If you don't feel called to find out what your purpose is, then maybe you came here just as a high vibrational being yourself in order to help the earth and the collective raise the overall vibration of the planet. So the more of us that can stay in these elevated higher states of being, the faster the planet and, well, humanity, because the planet's already evolved, but humanity can evolve onto this next journey of spiritual evolution. If we are star seeds and if we are fractals of source, then what are humans capable of? There are many scientists who believe that we are a 12-stranded species, and that the junk DNA, which makes up 90% of our DNA, is genetic material that has been switched off. Because everything can change our DNA, even frequency, as demonstrated in the field of wave genetics, our junk DNA is beginning to switch back on. So the rising energies of the planet, the rise in the Schumann resonance since it first began, the more star seeds or higher dimensional, higher consciousness beings who are incarnating, and also higher consciousness beings who've actually come from other planets who are here as well. Now with the waking up of the planet, the waking up of everybody, we are all questioning. And we have chaos in the world as we are beginning to remember who we are. We're remembering that we came from other planets. We're remembering that we came from inside the earth. We're remembering that we used to be an underwater species. Whatever it may be, we're beginning to wake up because these are our epigenetic memories. And the epigenetic memories are held literally in our DNA, in our physical body. And as our DNA is switching back on, we're starting to connect back to the 12 strands, or at least the junk DNA is switching back on. It's also switching back on memories as well. And we can't stop these memories from switching on. This is why we have a love of sci-fi films and myth and legends and all different sort of mysteries of the earth, and the fact that we're probably multidimensional beings as well, and we live in a multidimensional world or reality, meaning that as we evolve back to 5D, we will also be able to connect back to these other dimensions as well. So what does waking up feel like for us? Well, I think we will become more discerning, and this has always been a problem for the Cabal. So as we become more discerning, we are aware of the tricks that are trapping us into this lower vibrational field. We're more aware of the subtle energy that surrounds us. So we're starting to feel and sense things around us. Remember that you are a product of your own frequency, and everything works on a resonance basis. So you raise your vibration, you're connecting with a much higher field of energy. And it's a higher field of energy who is there to support you and help you if you so wish. Understanding that we are source energy. And because we are source energy, we don't have to ask source energy to heal our body. We simply have to direct our own energy to heal our body. And we can also use this rising energy to become happier in our own life as well. Connecting back to these higher vibrational energies, which many of us have called God or source, whatever it is, Christ consciousness. They're higher dimensional, higher consciousness energies. The heart is the most powerful part of our body. It pushes the electromagnetic fields out and actually allows us to connect to higher consciousness, higher dimensions. and it attracts back to us what we then want to experience in our world, in our reality. Working on raising our frequency and expanding our own consciousness through knowledge will get us back to who we really are as a species. So as we start to connect back to 5D, we will also be able to connect back to our 5D world. We were a fifth dimensional planet. I believe that we were shut down, and we'll be able to then connect back to the 5D aspects of our world, things which I suspect is what our myths and legends are telling us about. So we have been a 3D species living in a 5D planet, but we haven't been able to see past this 3D matrix. Now, as we begin to wake up, we will start to experience this 5D reality. And we do this going through 4D ourselves. So connecting back to our heart, connecting back to these higher vibrational spiritual energies will allow us to get back to our true human self and connect back to our true planet. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed today. Take care for now. Bye.